Hello, everyone. This is Paul Feldman, president and founder of Insurance Newsnet. For over 26 years, we've been serving the industry and bringing great interviews like the one I'm about to give you today. Today, we have Salene Hitchcock-Gear. She's the president of Prudential Financial Individual Life Insurance. Salene, welcome.
Hi, Paul. It's great to be with you today.
Absolutely. You've had a very impressive career. I was really impressed when I was looking through your background. And, one of the questions I love to ask is, how did you get into the insurance business? Because usually it's an interesting story.
Well, I think you're right. I don't know that how many people go to college or think about their life and say, I'm going to work in insurance. It certainly wasn't mine. So I actually got into the insurance business via my law background. So I became a lawyer. And by the way, just a little side note, I was supposed to be an architect. That's a long story, but I didn't have art skills, and I'm old enough where all of these new computer things did not exist. You needed to do freehand drawing, but we can get to that later. Wound up becoming a lawyer, which I really appreciated sort of the training and the background, and found myself working with clients and doing things where financial matters were front and center. I think sometimes, you put things out in the universe and things come around. I got an opportunity to work in an insurance company in their advanced markets area, my first job. And really what that means is we hire in the industry lawyers and accountants to do highly technical work. So people do wealth planning, estate planning, etc. And I thought, what a nice way to go and learn a little bit about some of the things I don't know to bring more value to my clients. That's been 30 plus years. I do keep my law license open, but I got really deeply connected to the insurance industry from that job and found it to be of high value and of high impact for people. And one thing led to another. I got more management roles and whatnot. But it is absolutely true. I did not intend to either work in a corporate environment or in the insurance environment, but it has been very fulfilling and very rewarding. And I feel very privileged to actually work at a company where I see a lot that matters come to the marketplace in terms of the products we offer, how we really bring value to people. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
Now, you also serve on a lot of different insurance boards and have throughout your career, and you're highly involved with the industry. What are some things that you're seeing that CEOs, top people at insurance carriers are seeing as issues, trends, and things in the marketplace?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it has changed. In the last 5 years, I think the two things that I would say are in sharp focus. One, of course, is technology and the advent of AI and what it can and should do to help us bring more information to people, make our processes easier, and really bring more value to our overall value proposition. I think that has been really a big idea. The second is that, as much as we help people and do a lot in the marketplace, there are so many underinsured people in the US. We have really been for some time now thinking and talking about how we can expand access, open new markets, and really bring our products to more people. That has been an ongoing dialogue, but I think it's come in more sharp focus recently because the partnership around technology and this sort of need around how do we reach more people can really intersect nicely. I think those are the two really dominant themes. And then maybe an underpinning to all of this has been really interesting, and it would sort of be in the health sector and the idea that we are post-COVID seeing some improved mortality capabilities, whether you want to talk about GLP-1 drugs or other things that might help people have better, healthier lives. That's a very positive tailwind, if you will, for the insurance industry. And there have been several things that have come into market where if we can kind of get on the same side of someone in their health journey, it's good for them, it's good for us. It helps people think about some of these dynamics in a much more beneficial way. So those would be my top three with sort of technology and this intersection between AI and how we do business, and then this idea that we need to reach more people really being at the cornerstone.
Okay, well, that's perfect because these are the things I wanted to talk to you about today.
That's great. Who knew?
Just laid them out for me.
Yeah, great.
Let's start off with technology and AI. there's been a lot of hype about AI. A lot of people don't understand AI. I was reading, and I don't recall where it was, but it was the percentage of people that actually use AI is kind of low. And then what's the
Yeah.
lowest is people that are paying for it.
Yeah.
And that's just like a fraction of a percentage of actual people who are really getting into this. From a carrier perspective, how are you finding AI into your backroom operations for efficiency?
Yeah, so for this one, it's almost like the future is here. AI is not a thing for tomorrow, it's a thing for today. And I think
Yes.
that's where we see some really different trends than maybe in other type technology. So for a long time in the insurance business, we'd have this adoption challenge, right? You have all this great technology, you have to get people to adopt it. I think AI is presenting a much faster entry to market. And it kind of started, I would say, with things like risk and compliance and where can you actually get to some intelligent automation early where you can measure and monitor. So the good and bad news about our industry is we're highly regulated and we have to provide certainty to people. AI is one of these things where if you go talk to people, and we do this at Prudential, I do it personally as well. You go talk to people and they've got some great new thing and you ask them this really pretty basic question like, how does it do that? Most of the answer is, well, we don't know. And so, as a carrier or a user, you can say, well, I can't use something where you don't know. We need actual outcomes and we need some certainty and, audit trails and all these things that we have to rely on. So, I would say AI has started in things that we can count, measure, and actually compare outcomes around. And
Hmm.
so, it's been in the things that you would expect. Most of us use some version of Copilot or a writing tool to help, put things together. But in our back office, what we've been able to do is help our case managers. Where is a case? What is the tracking system? How do we see what's missing? So our quality assurance processes have advanced and we can use it there because, that's sort of a low level, easy place to put it. We've also been able to use some of the writing tools to actually get smart enough to look at physician statements and get some of our medical information condensed and consolidated. Our underwriters will get reams of
Yes.
paper, right, to go through. If
Yes.
you can use smart tools to help you synthesize what's really important, we save a lot of time. So I'd say right now, in a fundamental way, we are relying on AI to do those things that make a lot of sense to give us efficiency and some confidence about what we're putting forward. So that's in a back office view, and it's a great place to start. We have a front end view for our
Yes.
customers. That's also pretty exciting. And this would be where we're getting into things like agentic AI and how can you have conversations with people through your service tools where your agentic AI properties can do intake for you. Talk to someone and ask the basic questions. Bring data into your environment and actually get things solved more easily. Particularly important in our claims areas, right? Where we're really trying to, at the point in time you need to get the funds, right, that you've been waiting for, you need to get that quickly. So I think there are really good use cases for AI. I do think you're exactly right. People in general may be a little bit further removed, but in a business setting, I think we are finding many, many applications and use cases now.
So what kind of futuristic things are you seeing?
So let me just start with the agentic AI piece and then let
Okay.
me pull it back to underwriting. We recently talked to a number of different firms that were building these agentic properties. And one of the key components that I was not aware of, but I'm very happy to see is these tools can now bring empathy to conversations. And what that means is they have capability to listen and understand, is someone frustrated? Are they confused? How do we need to guide the conversation so they don't think they're talking to a robot and they want to get to a person? There are all of these things right now where we're right on the cusp of being able to really have very intelligent and thoughtful interactions with people rather than some of the robotic tools we're used to hearing and
Yeah.
seeing. I think that is just fantastic because it will create more opportunity. If we pull that all the way through to the mechanics of our business, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the fact that we at Prudential for many years now, I've been working on underwriting enhancements all around trying to make it easier for people to get insurance. Underwriting is the heart and soul of how we price and manage risk and think about, which customers we can cover at what cost. We have been working for some 10 plus years on what I would call automated underwriting, which is to do what we do faster. So underwriting has a lot of rules. If you have this kind of condition or take these kind of medications, or you have this kind of health configuration, the rules say it's X. So we started with a rules-based philosophy. We are now moving into more predictive analytics, which is very helpful because what that does is it removes friction from the application process, where we can take things like get medical electronic data, pair that up against profiles that we already know. We've been writing insurance business at Prudential for 150 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We already have a lot of data. We have a lot of know-how. If we can take your actual electronic information and book match that against what we already know, we can come back to people now and actually issue certain of our policies within minutes based on those fact patterns because we have those data sets. And so the opportunity is to take these predictive analytic machine learning type things that we've been building, bring in some of this external electronic data, and have very personalized real-time offers to people that are good for us in terms of speed and pricing, and great for a customer in terms of that experience. And we're actually doing it today. And we're just, as I said earlier, we have to be able to have audit trails and peel it back.
yeah.
We have to use these things in a certain way where we have confidence about everything that's coming forward. And so we're using it today and expect to continue to expand. And I think the idea that we can take more public data, more public health information. We do a lot of work with our reinsurers and others around the industry, how we could assemble and share some of this information could bring real powerful tools to our industry. And the idea is to just make it easier for people to get insurance coverage.
As a former agent, I would say one of the hardest parts of the underwriting is writing a policy
Correct.
is going through the underwriting process. It's the
Correct.
time it takes to collect the medical records. It's the time it is to review a stack that's this big. And at one point, 90 days was not a bad turnaround. And
I
I
know.
think
Oh,
the industry is
yeah.
gotten better as mostly a whole because of
Yes.
the technology, because of these tools, and because of all the experience that we have now.
That's right. And it's building, so it's using these tools for good in a way where that experience starts to bring advantages to the marketplace. The other thing I would say, Paul, as we start to weave in some of the themes, from the earlier part of the conversation, this idea that we need to reach more people and actually make it easier for people to get insurance. We have a lot that still works one-on-one with advisors, right? We can talk about digital and all kinds of other things for people, but advisors play a really, really important role in this market. Insurance advisors are getting smaller and smaller by numbers, and yet more and more people need advice. So we need those who don't necessarily specialize in insurance to be able to bring this information forward. And what we know for sure is a lot of people who don't work with insurance every day do not feel comfortable talking about medical issues with clients. If they're a money manager or they're dealing with wealth issues, they may not want to talk to one of their clients
Yeah,
about their health. And so we get that's very personal. We get that could be very off putting. And if you don't know, hey, what happens next in the process as a financial advisor, maybe not an insurance advisor, you may not really want to go there. And so maybe you don't bring that conversation to a customer. These tools can help advisors who might find themselves in that spot, but know for sure that insurance would be important. Bring some of these things to their customer because they don't have to have those more personal conversations. We can use tools to help the advisor get through that process, and they don't have to worry. We can be much more transparent about how long it's going to take. What does the process look like? Where, to your point, you knew over those 90 days, you might have a lot of back and forth. You might have to call an underwriter. You might have to,
yeah,
negotiate some things, work with multiple carriers, right, to get the best offer. I think today we as carriers can make that process a lot more transparent, and a lot more easy so that a wider group of people in the advice business can actually make good use of insurance products, I think that's going to open a lot of doors as well.
So as far as you guys serve a lot of IMOs and you also have your career distribution channel, what kind of tools are you using
Yeah.
because training is a big issue in this industry
Yeah.
and a lot of carriers have moved away from it. You guys have a history of doing it.
Correct.
Um, what can we do better as an industry or how are you using it to better accomplish that goal?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I think like many environments, we're at this intersection where it's human plus tech. So, in my career, what I will say for sure is the value of an advisor, or anyone who's helping you with your finances isn't the technical work. That's a little bit of table stakes. You have to be good at the technical side, set goals, use tools, but it's the coaching, it's the ability to motivate and encourage people to actually take the steps that are needed to get something accomplished. I think that human sense of what people value, what's important, has to get matched up with how these tools get you to outcomes and get you to doing something. I think the role of a financial advisor is really just about engaging with people in a way where they get them to take those important steps. That does mean that you need to be able to still relate to people, know how to do good interviews, understand all of the empathy parts of it. I do not think technology is going to take any of that away. I think the technology enablements allow us to do more. We absolutely know that a lot of very successful advisors will tell you I can have maybe 150 to 200 clients, that's it. And yet you have this growing list of people who are telling us every day in the marketplace, I need advice, I need someone to
Yeah.
help me. So you have this conflict about, how do we bring more people into the business? We know that is slow and difficult, to your point. And then how do we make sure that we can get people to the advice components they want, people, technology, and otherwise? So a couple things. We at Prudential do still bring new people into the business. That is not something that a lot of carriers do, but we have
No.
programs that can take you from college or career change to wherever you want to get you engaged. We have quite a bit of extensive training. A lot of it is mentoring, but some of it are educational, foundational things like getting securities licenses, getting your insurance license. So we have full protocols around how to do all that. We'll continue to do that. Really important. And there are still carriers who do it. So, we appreciate that. We do, however, also know, because in my business, in the life insurance business, I not only work with our agents that we have at Prudential, but we work with so many other external parties who distribute our products that we have to use our wholesalers from Prudential to help train and educate a wide variety of advisors out there, again, who are going to span the gamut between I know a lot about insurance to I know a little about insurance. And so the AI things that we are using and the technology things that we are using would be in certain categories. And let's maybe start with the first one. If I am working for Prudential and I am either an agent or a wholesaler, how do I make best use of my time? So good case management tools, good sort and hunt tools. So if I need to know what a particular form is, in the old days, you'd have a marketing assistant or somebody around to help you with that. Now we can put it online and give you good sort tools. So we're trying to bring as much technology as we can where it's intuitive, where your whole life as an advisor isn't just about learning new tools, right? So we have a lot that we're trying to put AI around where you can just put in a prompt, get what you need, have it come to you more easily. Of course, with our home team, we have certain system around this. We have other systems, of course, with people that we have independent access to. So, as we're working with external distribution, we have to be very mindful of their systems as well. But a lot of the tools that we build now have API connections, meaning we don't have to hardwire things. So very important. We are putting in the hands of our wholesalers many tools that help them understand for the financial advisors that they are working with, what did they last do with which clients? Where is their business? Where is it that they last left off with the case? So we're putting a lot more tools in place to help our wholesalers navigate what is a wide variety,
Hmm.
of different intersections that they have with some of the people that they support. So I'd say it's business enablement a lot. How do I make best use of my time, either because I need to know something or because I need to get something done? The second layer is really around understanding how we can best use these tools, again, to make consuming all of this information easier. What's the next thing I need to do? Where am I in the process? So we have built a fully digital case tracking management tool and system. So we kind of take the guesswork out of things. So if an advisor is working with us, they can better understand where something is. You don't have to call five people, as you might have experienced, and figure
Hmm.
that out. So I think it's a combination of how do we make it easier for the advisor? How do we give more transparency to the process, make their jobs a little easier so they can cover and talk to more people? And then how do we extend some of that to our client layer so they, with the advisor, can use more tools and have more involvement? We have, just as a final part to this, as an example, we have a wide product set. Quite a few of our products allow for significant cash accumulation, where you can grow cash to do a number of different things. Well, in the old days, you might have to call someone, get an illustration, figure out what your values look like, spend a long time if you were in certain instruments to do a trade, etc. We have a lot of that online now. We have certain tools. We have one called Life Insight that you can see immediately where your values are, what's happening in your policy. So these, older systems, we live a lot in life insurance with something called legacy
Yeah.
systems, as you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, these older systems give us a lot of heartburn, but we've been able to elevate data into certain environments where we can now manage our policies better, give people more insight more quickly, make sure that things are more readily available and at the advisor and the client's fingertips, where there's not a lot of wait time between something you might need to do or information you might need. I think that's part of this technology set of advancement items that we've been able to really put in place. And I'd say there's a good runway there of more that we can do.
The statistic of 100 million Americans that are either underinsured or don't have any insurance. If we focused in on the underinsured, I think that there's a lot of insurance companies that have orphan policies,
Yes,
policyholders that the agent died, retired, left the
that's right.
business, or for whatever reason, they don't have an agent. How can AI and how can technology help carriers serve their policyholders better?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have very robust protocols now at Prudential where we can identify who those policyholders are and work to reassign them with someone who actually makes contact. So you might know in the old days, you might get a
Oh yeah,
list, wait for somebody to
yeah.
call, right? You know this. Today, we use Salesforce and we have a lot more sophistication in our tools around, hey, we sent you this person who needs help as a lead, someone for you to talk to support. You have 24 hours to get to that person or we reassign it. So we have a lot more governance and tools around that. And yet we still do have gaps, right? This is still not perfect. We work through a lot of things. In our contact centers and in our service environments, we are trained and make sure that our service professionals know how to help people do things like get online, access their policy information. We have built very easy and quick premium payment portals now where you might know, again, not too long ago, you'd have to have a login and a customer account and a lot of authentication to go and take care of something. Now, for simple transactions, you can just go do that. Simple authentication, front end layers to make it easier for people. So I'd say there's a fulsome suite of things that we are doing to care for those people who may no longer have an agent or an advisor, pair them with someone if they want one, and then provide some of these self-service tools to make sure they're getting the right information that they need. We recently put together a new team just to really be more thoughtful about our in-force support and in-force management of our policies, and in particular, in places where we know we could have more contact with people and make sure that their support levels are meeting where we know their policies need to have value and to make sure that they know the next things to take care of and whatnot. So we have full energy around it, but a lot to do. I would also say in this underinsured question, there are opportunities for carriers to understand what insurance people have today and what they might need more of. So,
Mm.
for example, you get a raise at work, you buy a new house of higher value, you have an extra child or some new dependency that you need to care for. We have built in our what we call simplified solutions team, so things that are designed to be easy and straightforward and likely digital and embedded in various places where you might find insurance opportunities, and said, what kind of products, because it can be digital, what kind of products should we put in these spaces? And two features I would highlight in some of our digital products that I think are novel and very helpful to people. One is one of the things that, again, as we said before, advisors are excellent at providing advice and guidance and supporting people. If you're in a digital environment, you may not have that guidance and support and sort of wrap around to help you. So what do we know about a lot of business that is not permanent? Let's call it term insurance. You can have high lapses. So if we have term insurance in a digital environment, what might we do to help people that might come upon a hardship and might lapse their policy? What could we do? We put a feature in some of our digital term products where if you have a financial hardship, you can actually keep your policy in force for up to 6 months and give us $1 of premium each month to keep it alive. So if you have a medical emergency, you lose your job, a lot of things happen where your
Wow.
budget changes.
Yeah.
So we said, gosh, especially in spaces where there might not be an advisor to call up and say, hey, what's going on? How can we help you? We put an actual feature in the product so that a customer can say, I don't know that I can keep this coverage right now. We can say, yes, you can. It won't cost you much at all. So that's one thing. We also know that people have opportunities where they might need more insurance. So if you have a life change, we've made it easier for you to get additional insurance. So a couple of new dynamics that we've been able to bring into our digital spaces, knowing that they may not have an advisor or someone who's helping them, where we can be proactive and put really powerful features to work.
That's really impressive because that certainly helps lapse rates. It also helps a client become more loyal.
Yeah, sure. And understand the value of that product. We don't want you to lapse any more than you do. That insurance protection is important. You bought it for a reason. Let's help you keep it. And I think some of what we think about in the digital space is how do we help make those connections? Where, and again, it isn't just that someone doesn't have an advisor. Many people want to act digitally. They want that independence and they feel like, well, I can do this on my own. I'd rather. So we want to make sure that we're fully supportive across our environments.
One of the complaints I had as an agent was lack of communication from the carrier to the agent advisor. If a client and that has a life change, that would be a really good
Yes.
reason to get back in touch with them. And oftentimes that's not shared. Even
Yes.
sometimes with lapses, they don't get the lapse notice. I mean, back in the day when it had to
That's
be
right.
mailed out, you wouldn't get it till after the policy lapsed. And now you've got that little tiny window to try to get them back in.
That's right. It's a great call out, and we have absolutely, and more to do, right? We're never finished on this, but we have absolutely put in place, I think, two things that are helpful. One is just a mindset that we can be a good assist to the advisor. Many carriers, as you know, rely on our advisors to put the coverage in place for a customer and then provide what we would call the ongoing service. That's part of the long-standing relationship. But over the last, handful of years here, 5 to 10, we've become much more aware that we should be doing a lot more than sending out the premium notices and, periodic sets of information. So these connects back into our advisors all have to do with our technology intersections. So places where I've mentioned where we have built in these tools around how is my policy performing? What is going on? We have put in these windows to our service lane so that we think what are we needing to get from a client, or what is happening in our ongoing service environment, and how do we enable that information to get over to the advisor. And so we're building in through these Salesforce and other tools many more windows for managing your in-force book. We're
Yeah,
doing the
that's really
same.
powerful. Yeah.
Very helpful, because you don't know. And so again, we have links and alerts. Now, the challenge is we need to probably do more push notifications, right, than we have turned on today. And we have always a list of projects around this, but it's those push notifications that could come into your phone via text, for example, that might
Yes.
say, here's what's happening. And so we are still building some of that functionality, but the leap into some of the tools that we have and some of these principles around building APIs have really helped us lift data out of some of these legacy systems, which becomes part
Yeah.
of the
That's
challenge,
really impressive.
and bring it up so that people can see it. I'd say we have more on the to-do list than accomplished, but we're getting a lot done. So feel really good about that. But you're exactly right. There's much more we should be doing together. And so we are agent and advisor friendly, meaning we send copies. We will annotate. We will do anything we need, but we're also trying to reveal more in our systems for daily management.
So since I started my career when I was young, I was 19 years old,
Wow. That's
little girl,
impressive. That's impressive. Yeah.
which is different for me because I wanted to be in the insurance industry, which is, I was I'm third generation. So I'm a little partial to this industry. And ever since I got into the business, they've been talking about this decline of
That's right.
producers.
That's right.
And, that is leading to the 100 million households, uninsured, underinsured. What can we do as a business and an industry? And I think a lot of this needs to come from some of the boards that you serve on, like the American
Yes.
College.
Yes.
I'm surprised that they don't have, how to bring an agent into the world. And they may have those courses, but they're not really promoting that. And the best way to bring somebody into the business is transitioning them into the business. And here's my old block of business. I haven't spoken with them in
Right.
years. Start with these people, and
Right.
I'll help you all along the way.
Right.
And it's multiplication of yourself.
That's right.
And if you really believe in this, you really want to serve your policyholders, you really want to serve more people, you need
Yeah.
to also do something. And
That's right.
when these people retire out of the business, they don't have income coming in, or they didn't get paid outright for their book of business, and they just kind of let it
That's
roll
right.
when they
Yes.
retire. How can we, as the industry, come and really enable something like this to happen?
It is a great question. And like you, from the day I joined this industry, this has been that chicken and an egg story. And I'll just share some reflections and then talk a little bit about what we're doing at the college and talk a little bit about what we're doing at Prudential. I think this is a multifaceted and ongoing dialogue for the industry. And I think it starts at a couple of places. One is, we all know in this industry that, and we say it all the time, and it is true, insurance is sold and not bought. And the people who are in the business are trained and not really recruited, meaning that it's almost one of these secrets, like being an insurance person or a financial professional, great career. Once you're mature in what you're doing, high degree of time flexibility, high degree of income and mobility. I mean, every lifestyle advantage you can think of
Oh yeah.
resides in this industry. And yet we can't draw enough people in. We have some carriers who recruit right from college. We have others who just want people who are already in this dream. So I think that the dynamic around our industry has to do more than just sort of what I'd say is now kind of reflect on the problem. But we've got to start to put in a lot of new thinking. And I think there are a couple of important trends that I am seeing that are starting to really take root that will help us. One is, and I take my American college work to this point. One is that I think we have really strong and compelling information that will tell people that with learning, designations, and real career ambition, your professional status with your client gets exemplified, and the idea that this is a career rather than, I think, what is off-putting to many people early on is you're in sales and you're selling insurance. We have very high standards for professionalism in this industry, and these designations and going into curriculum that helps you understand how to care for a client, not just sell a product, understand goals. We have had so much positivity in the industry around financial planning. You can think about it as needs analysis and values-based selling all the way now into full-fledged financial plans. We have a broad variety now of tools to help people get to goals, understand how to take information and make it meaningful for people. I think curriculum, designations, and things that, for example, the American College might offer, as well as these financial planning trends, help us bring a professional status to a career, right, that is really meaningful for the people. And I can't tell you how many people that I talk to in this profession who say, I can't think about how I'd ever do anything else. Well, we have to tell those stories more, of course, but we also have to appeal to a generation of folks now. We talked a lot about technology, who are technology first, and who think about how they do things in very, very different terms. So, we're an industry that can add how to bring value and meaning to life with these technology tools. Now we've got to make that case. But I think it's the idea that we need to raise the awareness that this is a true profession and that there are real standards, degrees, there's curriculum, there's professionalism to this that brings real value. I think we have a lot of work to do there. It's a real opportunity for the industry. And as I serve on the college board, we are doing much more today than we ever have around bringing awareness to the CLU, to the CHFC, to all of the designations around retirement. We have so many people in need of knowing how to think about accumulating for retirement, but then also how to live well in retirement with the money that you've accumulated and how to decumulate. Many, many places to go where we can say, this could be of real benefit to you to help your clients, and this can really help and serve more people. So I think through areas like the college, where we now have a marquee event called Horizons, which is all focused on retirement. We had some 1,200 people last year assemble from the industry to talk about this retirement challenge. I think we have to continue through places like the college and our firms to raise the professionalism of the industry. That's a big conversation, but one thing. I think the second thing is to really make the reality of what technology can do in our businesses and get us to help serve more people a more compelling story. Because again, we have to bring a lot more people in. And to your point of people on the way out need someone to give their business to, sell their business to, provide these transitions. You got to have a front door to do all that. So for me, it's bringing this reality that we are, we may not be Google or Amazon or some of the fancy places that people say technology really works, but our industry has really advanced, and we have a lot to be proud of here, and we should be talking about that more to get the front end in. And then the sweet spot for me, so think being an industry that's talking more about the professionalism of the industry, bringing more of this technology spirit to heart so we attract people. To me, the biggest trend that complements this knowledge and financial planning and professionalism is the idea that many in the industry now are relying on teams and not just solo practitioners in the dynamics of how people are working together in the profession. That to me is where the rubber hits the road, because you have to learn from people. There isn't a training program I've ever seen that replaces mentorship and one-on-one training and development to know how to work with people, approach people, build your business, and be successful. Our teaming concepts in the industry have really taken shape, and Prudential has seen dramatic improvements in productivity because someone can join a team and be part of an ongoing business group where revenue is already there. You're not out fighting every day to get clients
Yeah.
when you join a team, right? Your onboarding is so much better. And it's so different because you're not alone, right? First of all, and you're stepping into something where you have a bit more certainty. Someone can talk to you about your income opportunity. And assuming you step into an environment where you have some leads, you have a way to work with a certain group of clients for this team, etc., it is just a healthier and better way for someone to come in. So I think teaming is one of these places where we can see really good lift in the industry, because I don't think you're going to be able to get people up to speed through just raw curriculum, right? So raw curriculum is good because
Yeah.
it gives you
This is
knowledge.
this is one of the best answers I've gotten because I've asked this question to a lot of different, C-level people and high-level people in the insurance industry. And oftentimes they don't talk just like you did. So you really understand. And I
Yeah,
think that's
you've got to be pragmatic, right? It's like a Rubik's cube. There's not one turn of the dial that's going to get us there. I feel like the industry has an obligation and responsibility to keep talking about what we do and really hone in on the value. Our carriers and distribution partners need to work together to continue to amplify again the professionalism, the good work we do, and why it is so important to be part of this industry. And then we've got to have sort of the innards right, right? Both the technology with the products and the experience, right, that we want for people, but as well as what is life like if you're in this profession, and what does it feel like to use the tools and be part of this. I think that all comes from people working together and these teaming dynamics, and making sure we don't lose sight of the importance of mentorship and development. um, I can't tell you how many people when I first started would tell stories, and I'm sure you have them too, of how many nights I had to be in a car driving to client to appointment because you have to meet people after work, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now through Zoom and through
yeah,
video,
exactly.
and you can work during the day. I mean, we have so many more advantages, but we have to tell people, and we have to make sure that the career is keeping pace with lifestyle expectations. People want families. You don't want to be in your car from 5 to 10 at night doing appointments, right? You can do things so much differently, but we have to talk about that. We have to really amplify that, and we have to bring it to life. And so our companies have to make sure that these things are actually happening, and that we don't just bring people through the old way, right? Here's your one card list. Yeah, we've got to make sure the things we're doing are more modern, and our capabilities are keeping up.
Yeah, and there I have two things to add on to that. Is one is people like mid-career, people are getting, they're on their second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th different career. They've built up a whole network of people that they know.
That's right.
And these are some of the people that I just don't feel we're
Yeah.
reaching out to enough.
Yeah.
That's one. And two, it seems like the biggest recruiters in the industry right now are multi-level companies. How do you
Ah,
feel about
yes.
that?
Well, listen, when we think about this big underinsured, not insured population, I'd like to think that we need all of us to come together in the industry. And I think multi-level marketing organizations have a real role because they bring local touch to people, right? Neighbors, friends, and
Yes.
family, we know how they work. Because of the nature of that work, though, we don't want to forget that these can be full-time, highly professional career ladders as well. So when you have multi-level marketing organizations, we know a lot of people work part-time. And that is a way to do it. I wouldn't say it's the only way, but it is a way, and it might help us with this base of coverage that we need. But I'd also want to make sure that we are bringing all of those people along and through, because you might start there and it might be just fine. You might just want this as, the way you do part of your life, so to speak. But we also want to make sure we are highlighting and pulling through those people where they feel like a full-time career is advantageous for them, and make sure that they are advantaged with some of the ways that this could work. So that's one thing. So for coverage and for ways to make sure that we are not losing sight of how to reach, let's call it everyday people, friends, family, and neighbors, it is really important. And we need to think about it that way. And then we need to think about, along with this multi-level marketing conversation, we need to think about this technology layer and the fact that we do have many groups of people, not just younger, but many groups of people who would either be self-proclaimed do-it-yourselfers or just more comfortable doing, financial things electronically. We need to make sure our carriers and our distribution layers include room for these technology enabled protocols and processes. And it's not just direct to consumer, it's some of the ways that we're doing things like embedding insurance solutions, embedding information, making experiences, kind of there as well. And then kind of continuing up that ladder of then how do we bring people in who want the career, start them in the right places, with the teaming and the other things. So because we have such a high need of reaching people, I do
Yeah.
feel like it's a multifaceted approach and everybody plays a part. And if we work together as an industry and really talk about the dynamics of our products and how they work and help people, I think we can do a much better job tethering these things together because it isn't just one thing to me.
No, it's not. If there was one simple idea, a simple solution, all of our problems would be,
That's
waved
right.
with a magic wand, but that's just not, it's not life. It's
No.
not
And
reality.
there's and I feel like, there's room for everyone, right? Because we have such a high need. We have this continued dynamic where there are more people who need insurance than have it. So that doesn't seem to be going away. And so long as that's the case, we need as many ways as possible to get to talk to people, bring tools to them, every which way we want to do it with the right level of integrity, right? And application of what does this person really need and how do I best serve them? We've got to keep that full center.
Of course. So let's go over to health and how you guys are helping people live longer, which I think is the smartest thing as an insurance
Yeah.
carrier you could do.
Yeah.
Even with, advanced benefits, if you can't do two of your ADLs, that's going to help people live longer.
Yeah.
To get money, to get them support, to get them the health. And, at the end of the day, we do want people to be healthy and live longer.
That's right.
But for a carrier, it's highly advantageous from my
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, it's really important, and I would say we are really just beginning. And the way I would think about this is, we're having a lot of industry dialogue about what is our role in sort of this health and wellness space, and how do we help people see us as advocates with them for a better life. And health is the core of what we do because it's how we underwrite and it's how we understand you. And I think we're just starting to bring together some of the tools that can help bring this to reality. So, for example, I sit in a lot of industry conversation about some of the medical advancements that we have for cancer treatment, but most importantly for diagnostic and awareness around the idea that if you get in front of disease and challenges, you have this longer life, you have better underwriting circumstances, etc. So we're having a lot of dialogue around GLP-1 drugs and some of these newer things that we know can help with what are chronic illnesses in the US, be it obesity or diabetes, etc. How do we think about mortality implications from this so that from a pricing and support standpoint for people we're there? But then we live in an industry where we give you a price for a product on day one, and your health might improve over time. How do we build more flexibility in our models to account for that? We're really not there yet. We're just scratching the surface on what that looks like. And so I think our opportunity is to, as we're doing today, partner with some of the firms who are really good at this, some of them who are in the forefront of research and advocacy for people, and then some who are helping to pull through some of the ways that we might think about ongoing benefits for policies. And we have some examples of that. There aren't many, but some examples would be kind of along the lines of frequent flyer miles or the way you might interface with anybody who gives you reward points and what might it mean for me and what does this look like. It's going to take us a little bit of time because, as you know, we work art and science. The science part really is you need experience to be able to build that into your pricing and to be able to understand actual impact. So we, like other carriers, are trying many things to say, can we offer our clients some options for how we can help them get in front of some of these diseases and illnesses? Can we offer some wraparound services for support where if, like even in our own benefits plan, you take advantage of, daily walking or put on a Fitbit and we can see that you're doing things like how do we build some of that in? So we are working through what some of that looks like. I can't say yet that we've built it all the way into pricing or experience because we just don't have the backdrop yet to land and to be firm on what it means. But I do know as we work with our reinsurers, and again, this is a broader dynamic, that we are all looking forward to how to do it, not if, but how to do it. And then how do we build these things in? And we as carriers have to get more comfortable, I think, finding our space to introduce ourselves to both advisors and then clients in this role because we haven't really done it before. And we have to make sure that we're not intrusive with that, and that advisors, again, as we talked earlier, sometimes these health things aren't as comfortable, that advisors feel good about where and how they might introduce some of these things. And so we have probably more questions than answers today. Should we add it in as a service after you're a policyholder? Should we put some things on the front end to maybe include more potential long-term benefits? So you'll see us do a few things in pilot like we always do, test and work with our advisors like we do and our reinsurance partners. And I think over the next, couple, 3 years, we will land with some things that we feel more comfortable with. Right now, we're working on cancer screenings and understanding impacts from some of these GLP-1 drugs. Those are two of our big focus areas. And I think they are likely to have some of the highest impact for sure. One of the things that will be very helpful to us as well is the idea that for many of these tools, we won't use them in any way to have pricing a negative. So in other words, much of what we do today is tried and true. We're gonna see where you are with your health, however we do it, digital or otherwise, get you your policy. And to the extent that our underwriting is good, some of these things on the back end just help you live longer, which is good for everybody. So these cancer screenings and other things just means that your policy benefits, right? You can access them longer for yourself. One of the things I always think we don't do a great job of in the life insurance industry is talking about the fact that permanent life insurance has benefits while you are living, not just for beneficiaries at the end, whether it's retirement, illness riders and planning, your cash accumulation that is so tax advantaged and well placed for emergencies is a real risk mitigant, right? And so one of the things that we just have to talk more about is if you think about insurance as an asset class, as a risk management tool, all of these things make a lot more sense. You want to live longer. We want you to live longer just so you can accumulate more benefits and actually use them. Like these are all really good things. And I think our messaging and our connect around this has to get stronger. But some of these tools will help us with that as well.
Well, Salene, I really enjoyed our interview. Thank you so much for your time. And I honestly really enjoyed speaking with you.
Well, it was my pleasure. And I like the fact that it wasn't the scripted questions, but we got into a real dialogue.